Alright, so we get to do some more of kind of the fun stuff. This is going to be a little preview of what kids are going to actually start using when they're on the system. There's no way we're going to get through everything, but I'd like to show you my favorite things because I'm allowed to. So what I have here is kind of your basic desktop, and we've aligned this with your Microsoft equivalents. They're open source and free, the writer version, the spreadsheet version, and things like that. Where we get into some things that are a little more special is first I'm going to take you to this Rachel app. And this is an app that World Possible, the nonprofit, develops for this operating system here. And this is where you're going to see copies of websites and copies of the internet. So Rachel stands for Remote Area Community Hotspot for Education and Learning. We've put this app on all sorts of things, and it's in about 42 countries right now. It is actual copies of websites as they exist in the real world, which are all education focused. So each one of these little white boxes is actually a copy of a website as that website actually exists in the real world. And I'm going to go through some of the content that's in here, and you can think about some of the ways it might be applicable to your unique situations. We are always adding to this library of websites, but briefly to go through it, the first one here is Saylor Academy. And this is up top because this is the newest website which we've taken offline. It takes us about 6 to 8 weeks to take a website offline or to make a copy of it. Saylor Academy is actually free college courses. And these college courses are not just like some crappy version of college courses. These are actual college courses which you can take an exam for free and get college credits which transfer to universities. Right? So this is a free way to start to attempt going to college. So when you go through these courses, at the end of these courses there's a final exam. If you do GED proctoring, you can proctor that exam in your facility, send the paper written exam to the Saylor Academy via email, and your students can start building a free transcript. So Saylor Academy is a rich guy, I think his name was Michael Saylor, and he puts a few $1 million a year into this, saying that college should be free and accessible to anyone. Really no better use case than here in corrections, where we can start allowing kids. They're going to have access to the videos, the worksheets, the textbook, everything they need to do to actually take that course. So I'm going to pop into Saylor Academy. You guys can all do it. Saylor Academy currently offers 27 courses. Some of them transfer up to 3,000 universities, including like in California, the Cal State system, or maybe your equivalent here. You can go through and exactly see, but wherever you go, there's somewhere that you can actually transfer these courses to. Just to give you a view of one of these courses, Business Administration or Introduction to Business is the most common one that gets taken. And this is just like the course appears on the internet. So what we've built is kind of what we call artificial intelligence. It's really just a method of sending our computer out, it views the website, it takes a picture of the website, and then it clicks on every link automatically and takes a picture of everything that it finds on each one of those links. And if it gets to a video on YouTube, it knows to go to YouTube, download the video, and put it here back on the computer. So it takes us a long time, there's a lot of manual work, but that's how this process gets done. And so what we end up with usually is replicas of the actual course as it exists online. And it'll take you through a course introduction, it'll take you through all the units in the course, it'll even tell you exactly how long or approximately how long it should take you to get through these units. It's set up like any course you would expect to be set up. It's got a unit inside a unit, it's got lectures, it's got learning outcomes, it's got all the different parts you get through. And you can, a lot of this stuff is printable, a lot of this stuff is here stuck on the computer, and I'm just clicking through kind of the basics of foundation of business. And they'll either come up with an article to read, a section of textbook to read, or a video to watch. And each little section is different, depending on how they've actually put this together. And so here you'll see kind of, this is just a text version of one. In other cases you'll see a video, and in some cases you'll see an exercise. So the next thing that Saylor Academy does, and I think we actually have a couple of different versions here, is that what we found, one of the biggest barriers to college inside was the cost of textbooks. And so we have worked with a couple of different groups to provide college credit textbooks. So if your community college is teaching inside, or if you're offering college inside, or even high school inside, we do have digital copies of textbooks. And that's included both in the Saylor Academy textbooks and in Boundless textbooks. Both of these are sets of accredited, well-written, actually vetted textbooks which are available, and we've got a few hundred courses here. So just know that this resource is available if you're thinking about different teaching methods, different ideas. A lot of community colleges will pretty quickly adopt an open source version of a textbook they might be paying for today if they're going to come inside and teach. And I don't know how much college you guys do at all, so this is just something to be aware of, that this is an option. The other thing here is there is a curated and censored version of Wikipedia for schools. So this is a small package of Wikipedia. If you want to look up countries, if you want to look up presidents, political figures, do basic research, this version of Wikipedia is fully censored for use in a correctional facility. Frank's favorite is Great Books of the World. As you may know, after a certain point in time, copyrights on books expire, and those books become public domain. So when you think of books like Huckleberry Finn that I read as a kid, including things like the Bible, those books are all in here for free. Kids can start and read any one of those books that they want in the Great Books of the World. You know, there's a section that helps them look at the top 100 most read books, and you know, there's really, I think, somewhere around 45,000 books in here. You can search by name title if you want, and all of our modules allow you to search. But this is a place where people can get access to some more literature. Granted, it's usually dated, but it's free and it's available. And it really is some of the classics. The next website we offline is my favorite for corrections. It's produced by the Goodwill Community Foundation, in particular for teaching employment. So the Goodwill Community Foundation does a lot of work with people who are, for whatever reason their circumstance is, usually needing to find their way back into becoming productive members of society, right? This is what Goodwill really focuses on, is job readiness and employment. So in gcflearnfree.org, you will see all of these topics covered in detail. And these topics include things like career planning, digital literacy, healthy internet use, email basics. So kids are going to leave a facility and they may not have been exposed to email when they came in. You want to teach them about Gmail, but you don't want to provide access to Gmail. I can go to the email basics section, I can look up Gmail, and I can get a course aligned to teach Gmail to someone without actually needing to be online. Right? It's exactly what Gmail looks like, it's exactly how to compose an email, how to send an email. The extent of GCF Learn Free for use in a correctional facility is really, really fantastic. When I think about, there's a money section here, which will take you through money basics, how to manage your money, how to create a budget. This is something you can even do as an activity in the facility. If someone's working in a kitchen or working in a garden, you can ask them to build a budget of how they would spend this money. There's all the things here that you need to know about how to open a checking account, what is a checking account, how to open a savings account, how to invest your money, how to think about buying a car. These are real life skills that people are going to use, and it's all here stored on the system, available offline. And it's really nice, it navigates really well, just like the website does. You can come into workplace basics and it'll teach you about building your resume, it'll teach you even your appropriate habits to have around organizing a desk, or getting acquainted with a computer and a workstation here. So GCF Learn Free is a fantastic resource. The job search, this is another great resource here. It talks about cover letters, interviewing skills, networking and searching, resume writing, and job applications, right? Like, if you want to talk about reentry, this is by far my favorite resource to use when it comes to those types of skill sets. So the other thing is we found a few versions, and I should preface this, World Possible, the nonprofit, only works with open source and free educational opportunities, right? So when we go and we say someone needs help with algebra, we find an open source or free version of it, or we find a good version online and reach out to the content creator and say, will you make this freely and openly licensed? People don't know that that's something that you can do. That's part of our mission as a nonprofit, is to grow the library of free and open source educational content. So a couple of these are content providers who taught math online and have donated their content to us. So if you have a kid who's not doing well in algebra, you can send them to some of these remedial resources which teach algebra. And in the same way, we've got the introductions to the arithmetic system, and they can go through these. They're all aligned in a way that will help them, if they're struggling in school, give them a chance to learn on their own. Right? And a lot of times kids just don't want to ask questions. They don't want to be embarrassed, and this is a place where you can say very quietly, hey, there's that app on this machine, maybe you want to spend some time with it. Further in the textbook world, we have CK12 textbooks, which are textbooks focused on 5th grade through high school. So these are PDFs of textbooks which they can have local access to if they don't want to be carrying around a bunch of textbooks. If you don't want to pay for textbooks, you can adopt CK12 textbooks. OLPC is 1 laptop per child. They have some really cool these would be more self-discovery around web design, what HTML is, what CSS is. These are designed for people who've never seen these concepts before, to be introduced to some coding and to some literature development. It's really a nice resource for younger populations. It's designed for a younger audience, and they teach you about HTML if people are curious about this kind of thing. They also have all sorts of these other things about biology and some of these more, I guess, not curriculum aligned, but kind of discovery type resources. My actual second favorite set of content here within Rachel, which is Fantastic Phonics. This is produced by USAID, which is a big international development, the government's international development arm. They have funded Fantastic Phonics, which will teach literacy from the letter A through writing and reading paragraphs. And then after you've gotten through that, it actually has a Fantastic Phonics for adults, which will teach workplace literacy. So if someone has a particular desire to work in healthcare or in an office, it teaches you how to recognize the words that will be important for you as you go out and try to be a productive member of society. So Fantastic Phonics is again organized in these series. Series 1, Book 1 is literally going to start with the letter A and the word cat. And for each one, there's a video you can watch. And then after the video, there are a series of games you can play around word search, finding the word, crossword puzzle, spelling tests. And you can watch them actually read these things to you. So for each one of these different books, so there's 3 units. Within each unit, there's a series of 20 books. Within each books, there's 15 exercises that you can do. So I'm going to close out of Rachel, and I'm going to show you my next favorite app. You want to go for a little while?
No.
All right. My next favorite app here is Virtual School. Virtual School is a copy of the Khan Academy. So, most people know Economy is showing just the videos. What this app does is allow them to watch the videos, track their progress, and take exercises. Right? So each student can sign up and create a login. And then once they've done that, and you don't even have to create the logins if you don't want. I just clicked on that big button in the middle which says Learn. And then along the left bar here, you will see all the Khan Academy's videos organized by major subject category. So I think we were talking about math before. And then, is there a particular math subject anyone teaches? Pre-algebra is about as far as I go, so I like to stop there when I give the demonstration. So pre-algebra, and then within pre-algebra, it's aligned according to your Common Core standards. So it starts with negative numbers and goes into things like decimals. And you can go within decimals. You've got hundreds and hundreds of videos and lectures here. But what you'll see is once you've reached this 5th panel, all of these things with the little play sign are going to be videos that show up. And then all these things with the little pencil are going to be exercise series that go up. So if you're logged in, your student will actually track its own progress, or you can just direct them straight to the videos you want them to watch. The videos are all going to be on the computer, and when they're done watching the video, if they're logged in, they'll be prompted to do the exercises, which are right here. Some of them are multiple choice, some of them are short answer. If you get the answer wrong, it will tell you. If you need a hint, it will give up to 3 different hints to the kids, so they can start, going through these on their own. So that's a couple apps. Maybe one more real quick is MIT Scratch. So this is the concepts of coding. So it's not actual coding, but it's the concepts of coding. This is like how to think like a coder, and it's really pretty cool in the way that you can actually build storylines around a character, convince that character to walk into walls, or when it walks into a wall, do this. It's produced by MIT also as a free resource to teach coding.
Yeah.
You'll find that this is not one that you're going to do a lot of directing of students, but that kids will start to build their own little storylines through these concepts of coding. And they won't even realize that they're coding. I don't even know really how to use it all that well. I've seen some really cool stuff come out with it. But all these different things are the same terminology that you use in coding around variables and operators and control and motion. And they can start building these things, start to link together, and they build really cool stuff. So,
there's a few others that I want to point out that are for transition. I'm going to do this really quick because I want to also get into the ability, what we have for storing files for you. But the how-to section is another transition program. We've noticed a lot of young people get into this because they just like to see how things work. And it's one of those areas that are, definitely of interest for them. It's sort of like giving them, how do I do this? And what's life going to be like? And, so if you look at some of the finances, how to save money. I think that's a little bit of an issue for some of our young people. This is just showing a lot of content and interest. And when a young person or an adult is ready to leave the facility, sometimes they have that aha moment that they start to discover things on their own and prepare themselves. They may have not paid attention during class, but suddenly it's a reality for them. And so they go to some of these programs. Mind Test, the kids love that. They jump into it. That shows a lot of 3D modeling. The kids are always into, why can't you buy the real one, Mr. Martin? How come this one? I mean, you can tell the kids use it at home, and they love the design one. Okay, I'm going to jump in again. The writer, the spreadsheet, that's just like a Windows version. I'm not going to jump into that. If you have time, you can look at it. But this is the main area I want to take you to right now. More apps. This is, I think, a wonderful design by Endless OS that creates literally an app store. And this is that empowerment of freedom of choice that the kids suddenly have on the desktop. And what you'll see here is the opportunity for them to get in and download what they like. Now, there's a few issues here that I need to explain because you're going to get hit with it with the kids. Let's say a kid's going to say, oh, wow, Google, I can get Google, I can get Spotify, they're going to hit that. Spotify, okay, I want Spotify. Hit install. Unable to install, needs a download, failed. Okay, what I just walked through there is a scenario that this isn't going to the internet. And the kids are going to give you heat and say, how come I can't download this? Well, one of the responses that one of the staff said to us, well, it does say free on there, but it's for free means when you're out in the community, you're free to make that choice. And the version we have is not that version. But if you go to Endless and download the app, you can get it then. And we're not doing this to be mean. We're just doing this in a way that we had to make decisions on what we could download for you. And we had to do something that didn't require the internet. That being said, there's a lot of great programs here that a young person can choose. If you look on the right side here, it breaks it down into what I would call domains. And one of the visions and hopes I had in the future is possibly we could have a corrections type of domain for treatment. Maybe there's domains for drug and alcohol. Maybe there's a domain for reentry. And there's alignment of content so you could easily go there. That'd be great for the future. But these, if you look here, you can go to learning, and it's going to populate with all the content. It's going to populate the content for reference, games. And so this is literally a sort of like a catalog of content that a young person can choose.
And to just from like a broad perspective, Endless has about 400 or 500 apps. About 300 of those apps are already installed on the computer, and about 15 of those apps are on the desktop to begin with. So there's a huge library of other apps, all these things with checkboxes that an individual student, when they use their user account, can add to their desktop and their desktop alone. So when they log in, they've got their desktop with their stuff. And so they're picking from this library of a couple hundred apps to continue adding to their desktop. This is really giving them that feeling as though they are going on their phone and going to the App Store. Granted, not everything is available. Some you need to be free to use. But all of these other ones with checkboxes can be added to their individual desktops.